first thing I want to talk about in the theory of saving dogs and rescuing more dogs is what I call the greatest lie ever told to dog owners. And the greatest lie ever told to dog owners is that dogs don't need corrections, that we can train a dog using only positive methods, which I partially agree with. I think you can train a dog with only positive methods, but you will need to correct the dog for behaviors that are unwanted. Positive only trainers want to believe that even dealing with aggression, we never need to block a behavior or to correct a behavior. And this shelter out here, as well as countless shelters throughout our country, and many of you will attest to, are full of dogs that don't have any manners, that don't have any social skills. Social skills are usually taught to a dog at an early age, oftentimes by their mother. So if they're super aggressive, if they're super hard biting on the nipple, if they're super dominant with other dogs, the mother will correct them for those behaviors. As they're brought up, that behavior needs to be corrected by the humans early on. Children need to understand structure. Dogs need to understand structure, right? But we don't put down children. They just grow up to be entitled, self-righteous, narcissistic, Generation X kids who are useless in society, right? Because they've never heard no. They've gotten a participation trophy for everything they've done. Parents tell them you can do anything in the world you can do, and that's how we're raising dogs, right? So they're cute. Oh, he's just being a cute puppy, right? But when he grows up and he becomes a non-cute dog that's doing those behaviors, that's biting at your leg, that's nipping at the other dog, that's growling at the kid, you're not going to like the dog as much. So when those behaviors become so hardwired in the dog, we need to teach the dog the social skills and the life skills to save his own life. That means we need to inhibit those behaviors. We need to block those behaviors. And the only way we can block those behaviors in a training environment is to put a negative into the equation. So if the dog is lunging at another dog, a lot of the positive only thing, and I just watched a video on this last night on YouTube because somebody emailed it to me, and this is why I'm talking about it today, had a dog that literally was super aggressive to another dog, and their theory was to start 60 yards away from the other dog, and when the dog would look at the other dog, the person would go, yay, and run away and pull, and the dog would go away. Now, granted, she's working with a little, like a Jack Russell Terrier, a little dog, a little terrier. And the other dog that was in front of her was a neutral golden retriever. So this is as far removed from shelter behavior and the dangerous dogs we deal with as you can possibly imagine. It's like comparing a shark to a porpoise. But the behavior at that 60-yard line could not be corrected. So she said, well, you know what? We'll go to 70 yards. Well, you might as well just take the dog to another city, because if you get him that far away, he's not going to respond. But it's this logic that's infused into society, that's teaching society that we don't need to correct dogs. We don't need to block a dog's behavior, that's ending up with these dogs in these shelters, and we end up having to kill those dogs because nobody wants to adopt them. And this infuriates me, right? I'm the first person, you can ask Pete, you can ask anyone who's ever worked with me, the very, very, very first thing I do when I get a dog in the yard is do what, Pete?
Treat, drop a leash.
Treat. The first word he said was treat. The very first thing I do is I give a dog a treat because I want to engage him to me. When that dog now disengages to me and goes and tries to lunge at another dog, what do, Pete? I correct the dog. I don't hit the dog. I don't yell at the dog. I don't do anything negative to the dog. I correct him. I block his ability to get to that dog. Because what he wants to do, he wants to lunge at that dog. Does he want to play or does he want to bite? I don't know. But I'm going to assume that even if he wants to play in a rude fashion, that the other dog may not accept that. So I'm going to teach him that when he approaches that dog, he's going to do it in a good way. He's going to do it in a mannerly way. Because if I come rushing up to Pete 1,000,000 miles an hour like this, he might think I want to fight, and he might hit me. And he's in his right to hit me because he's being defensive. Okay, so I block the dog. I stop the dog from doing that by letting him get to the end of his leash, and I go the other way. I block the negative behavior. By blocking a negative behavior, what do? I create a positive behavior, right? But I create it. The dog sees that I'm in control in that situation. If I just let the dog do his stupid behavior and then go, yay, and give him treats, he's getting away with the negative behavior, and the negative behavior will fester more and more and more until the dog becomes dangerous. So, in the animal kingdom, might makes right. I hate to tell you that. I hate to tell anybody that who doesn't want to believe that. But in the animal kingdom, might makes right. All the way down to amoeba. The more powerful amoeba kills the weaker amoeba, right? So if you want to live, if you're in a very dangerous society and you want to live, you're going to find somebody strong and you're going to hang out with them. It's old jailhouse theory, you know? You're either somebody's bitch or you're going to get beat up, right? Unless you're super tough. So with dogs, how do we save them? We teach them that that behavior is not tolerated. We correct for it, and immediately after correcting for it, we do what, Pete? We treat the dog. We reward the dog to tell him that the negative was only there to block the negative behavior, to bring him to a positive place, to reward him because that is the behavior. I'm marking the behavior I want. It's as simple as that. That's dog training, right? I had a Rottweiler I dealt with the other week. The person had a pinch collar on the dog, was never taught how to use the pinch collar, had the dog on a tight pinch collar the whole time. The dog was miserable. The dog was trying to get to the other dogs. Now, if you put the dog on a flat collar, it would be even worse. But I taught the dog how to use the pinch collar through leash pressure work. The video online, you can see that. Then I took the dog out and I saw another dog. I had a 12-foot leash. I let the dog run up to that other dog. The problem was he was going to stop about 3 feet away from that other dog at the end of a great deal of momentum on the leash. And when he corrected and turned around and saw me standing there and I was starting to head the other way, he came running back to me because there was pain being away from me. There was discomfort in his negative behavior. And when he came back to me, I said, oh, what a good girl. It was a girl, sorry, I said him. Coco, right? Good girl, Coco. And I gave her all the treats in the world. And then I walked back towards the other dog. And when she broke and got into her super focused, aggressive drive and went after that other dog, I let her. I had the end of the leash. When she got within 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet of that other dog, she, boom, hit the end of that leash, which was negative, not as negative as killing the other dog. And I turned and walked the other way. And she came running back up to me. I said, oh, Coco, what a good girl. So Coco learned by running away from me and doing something that could prove to be negative, killing the other dog, hurting the other person, she received a correction that was very much self-inflicted. Through that self-infliction, she made a very conscious decision. This guy is a safe place to be. He hasn't hit me, he hasn't yelled at me, he hasn't hurt me, he hasn't done anything to me. He's only giving me treats. But he's in control of the situation. So the dog makes a conscious decision to avoid discomfort, to engage in comfort and reward, and the dog learned within a few times, maybe 3 or 4 times around the other dog, and there was no 60-meter barriers or 70-meter barriers. This dog learned to be around the other dogs, walk close to the other dogs, and was walking on a loose leash. Now, it will take some repetition, but the dog will learn that behavior. So, this lie of everything being reward-based without corrections, without blocking those behaviors, is the lie that ends dogs in shelters. Huge lie. But correcting dogs and rewarding them, it should be a positive experience. It has to be a positive experience, because if it's a negative experience, and a negative experience means I end the session when the dog is being aggressive to the other dog. That means the dog is lunging, barking, acting like an idiot, and I take the dog and I put him away. Or I take him away, and I've had trainers tell me that, or people tell me that their trainers told them, just keep him away from other dogs. Well, then when they get in front of another dog at some point in their life, that aggression is stronger because it's never been resolved. Resolving aggression through balanced training, through corrections and rewards, is the only way to save a dog's life. If it works with only treats, kudos. Like Pete said, the first thing I do is treats. And if I don't ever have to give a dog a correction at the end of the leash, if I can lure him away and reward him, yay. Best technique in the world. My bad issue, the crux of the issue with people I have is when they say there does not need to be a correction because you're selling a lie and you're killing millions of dogs. And we know that being in the shelter, the lie can be perpetuated throughout the world because people aren't going to know. But when it comes to the shelter, when you're dealing with dominant dogs, Rottweilers, Pits, Mastiffs, Shepherds, and you're not dealing with the Golden, the Labradoodle, and the little Yorkie, you're going to have to make some other decisions. And if your decision is to save lives, we got to open our minds and understand that.